This is not one of those fancy razzle-dazzle videos where stuff and images and graphics pop up all over the screens. I host yard sales once or twice a year. I do a lot of flea marketing, do a lot of flipping, curbside culling, salvaging, and just recently had a yard sale that was my most successful one ever. And I attribute that to a couple of reasons and things I've changed in approach, and I think this might help you. Again, not this super slick video that looks like it's on a TV show or produced by some production house, but I think the tips are pretty good. And I'll get right to them right here. First of all, signage important, not just online. I think a lot of people rely too much on online promotions, and my lighting's getting weird here. It's like there's a nuclear blast occasionally in the background as things keep changing. Anyways, signage is important. I put up signs. Some people do it like the morning of, that doesn't work, or the day before. I do it 2 days before, and I'll look at the weather forecast to make sure there's not going to be rain. Why? Because A, I don't want to host a yard sale in the rain, and if those signs are cardboard based or paper, they will basically melt in the rain. So that's not going to be good because they become illegible. So I make out of scrap plywood ahead of time signs that I paint a bright color, maybe even something obnoxious. There's someone in town here who attaches like reflective tassel under all their signs. I didn't have it this time. I think it's kind of genius because as this stuff blows in the wind, no matter what the size of the sign, it reflects, it shimmers, and draws the eye of people to that sign who then read, you know, where X, Y, and Z is at. So signage is important. Do it a few days ahead of time. Make sure you put a lot at particular junctions. Put the address of the place on there, the day, and additionally, well, of course, the time. And additionally, put directional arrows in the sign because some people, as they drive by, might not see the address if it's in smaller type, and will just follow those arrows. Make sure you take these signs down a day or so, or even the next morning afterwards. In terms of setting stuff up, I always put some bait items, I call them, out front because you get those, I call them the slow cruisers, the people who drive by, creeping by, you know, looking to see if they want to dare stop at your yard sale. So put some cool stuff out front. I recently scored this giant fiberglass rhinoceros head that was part of some artist series. Here's a picture of it real quick. Also on this channel, the procuring of that. Things like that out front, colorful stuff, weird artwork, whatever, eclectic stuff. Make sure some of the good stuff is out front because it will cause people to actually stop and peruse through the other junk you just want to get rid of, which you price lowly if you don't want to ever have to load it back in your car or bring it back, you know, into your shed, things like that. Be ready for the early birds, of course. This is something most of you do know. So set up nice and early. If it says 9 a.m., be ready by like 7 a.m. We did our yard sale yesterday. 7:30 a.m. people started rolling in, even though the sign said 9 a.m. And they're picking through your stuff. We were ready for them, though. Most of the stuff was laid out, and we sold a bunch of it an hour and a half before the yard sale ever started. Online stuff, there are a ton of sites you want to hit. I would, ahead of time, join all. If you look up on Facebook, especially, there's a lot of like local to your region yard sale sites. I live in Stoughton, Massachusetts, so there'll be Stoughton yard sales, Friends of Stoughton, Massachusetts, whatever club of Stoughton, Massachusetts, and then regional yard sale sites. Post on all those, and if you have the time, make each post a little bit different, but be sure to list what's in your yard sale. People most aren't gonna come off. It's just like kids' toys and stuffed animals. That stuff sucks. To most, I guess, to each their own. But make sure you list if you have baseball cards, comic books, vinyl, that kind of stuff is really hot right now. And maybe in the future when this video is being watched by you, it might not be anymore. But be in tune with what works and what doesn't. If you have that stuff, make sure you list it. But be ready for some people ahead of time to get kind of annoying with questions. I get the baseball card people are always, I love baseball cards, but I'll say it, they're kind of the worst because they will email you ahead of time and want so many specifics and questions as to what you have, you won't have the time for it. So it gets a little bit annoying, I'm sorry to say. And they're the toughest customers I feel to deal with, the sports card collectors. But they are looking for that stuff. So that will draw them out and they might buy other stuff while they're here. Set up your stuff with nice kind of spaced, in a nice spaced array. Make sure there's like, you know, we do the 3-row setup and have a couple of tables in back that me and my daughter can hide behind so people, especially during the COVID era and all that, don't get too close or too clingy, and you get to keep your distance. It's your own private zone back there. A couple nice aisles, spread the stuff out. Put it on blankets too. If you're just throwing stuff on your asphalt, it doesn't look like it's cared for or that you want it at all. So spread the stuff out because the blankets themselves take up space, provide some color, some atmosphere, and as people drive by again, it looks like you might have more stuff than you actually have. The key, though, is to have a lot of freaking crap, because people drive by, they see this ridiculous array of stuff, they're thinking, okay, there might be something good in there. I am going to stop. Be ready to haggle with people, as you know, because the early birds sometimes are the very cheapest of people. We get a lot of people who run around, they get their yard sale schedule and just keep lumping things in a pile before they ever ask the price. That's going to be trouble, because they're trying to confuse you. Throw a ton of crud together and hope you give them the deal of the century. Even when you price it down, a lot of these people will laugh and give you, an offer, return offer of a third of what you already cut in half. So be wary of those people. Those are the perils of the early birds, because some of them are so cheap, it's just almost, kind of, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, because I'm trying to make my living too, and I don't want to give away this stuff for nothing. But that just comes part and parcel with these yard sales. There's a couple tips right there. If I have some more, I will probably do another video on this. And again, no razzle dazzle here, but they're good tips. They work. They help me out. Make sure you bump those posts online once in a while. Add a comment, because it brings them to the top of each of those boards. And the signage, very important. Sometimes I double sign at the more important intersections. Even if the signs say the same thing, I'll put one. I did one recently in yellow, then below it, another one in hot pink that said the same thing, but as people drive by and see two signs, they're like, oh, must be something pretty special. Or they only see one of them thinking a lot's going on where that arrow points. And in most cases, there is a lot going on. You get them over there, hopefully they look through the stuff, you make the sale, you make some money. And the yard sale we just had, having followed all those tips, I made the most money I've ever made at a yard sale. Did a lot of posting and put out about 30 different signs that, if they're created, here's another tip. I'm going on and on. If those signs are created in scrap thin plywood, you can reuse them every year. If the day changes, I take a can of spray paint and just kind of white out where it says Saturday and instead put Sunday. Also look ahead of time, if you can, to see, are there other yard sales being advertised and going on in your region, assuming that weather's going to be good again. Because if there are, people are more prone to come to your town and cruise all those yard sales. They want to buy in bulk. They want to see a variety of yard sales. You're going to get a lot more people coming out for those. So those are the tips. Hope they help you. Post some recommendations and tips down below, because I could learn from this as well. It's all a community of scavengers, flippers, and scroungers here in a good way. So drop your tips down below, leave a comment, please subscribe, and thanks for watching, as always.